Hello and assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Kashif Kamran, and I welcome you all to the day three of the Advanced Audit and Assurance Practice to Pass webinar for December 2020 exams being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Now, just before starting on with the proceedings of the day three, I just want to confirm that all of you can hear me. Okay, thank you very much. And all of you can see this sharing of the screen as well. Is the screen sharing clear with all of you? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's start on with the proceeding for the day three, a very important day because on this particular day three today, I am focusing on ethical, professional, and quality control issue, which is a very important topic from the AAA perspective. Now, if you are repeating the AAA paper or you are giving AAA paper for the very first time, I hope you all know that ethical, professional, and quality control issue is a very important topic, and you should be very good on this topic in order to ensure that you have a success in the AAA paper. So, without wasting time, let's start on with the day three, focused on ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Okay, let's start on with day three, a very important day and a very important topic. And I hope you have enjoyed the previous 2 days, the day one and the day two. And we are having the day three today, which is focused on yet a very important topic from an examination point of view. So let's start on with ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Now, this is a topic which I have consistently covered in my previous webinars because this is such an important topic, right? So if you want to explore my previous webinars on ethical, professional, and quality control methods, you can explore the previous webinars you can see in front of your screen, the September 19, the June 19, and the March 19. So you can explore these previous webinars and you can gain more knowledge on ethical, professional, and quality control matters. Further, the agenda for the day three. Now, on the day three, there are two articles which I will be recommending you, and I will be focusing on these two articles, which you can see in the very first box. Number one is the exam technique article part one ethics, just like we were discussing the exam technique article part two yesterday. Then there is another article which is quality control issues. Quality control, a perpetual current issue. So, two articles for the day three today. One is an exam technique article part one, and one is a quality control perpetual current issue. Then we need to investigate the examiner expectation with this topic. So I would be doing the analysis of the examiner do's and don'ts. Now, in terms of the practice questions, I will be doing the September 18 question number 2B, which is on ethical and professional issues, EP. And then I will be doing the June 16 paper, question number 2A, which is on ethical, professional, and quality control issues together. And for your home assignments, I've given you one question from September 18, which is question number 3B, which is professional and quality control. And I've given you March 20, question number 3B, which is ethical and professional issues, right? So EP stands for ethical and professional issue. EPQ stands for ethical, professional, and quality control issues. PQ stands for professional and quality control issues. So this is the agenda, right? So let's start on with the agenda and let's see what we need to prepare ourselves in the next 3 hours of the webinar today. Okay, let's first start with ethical and professional issues. Now, when you look at the examiner expectations, when a question asks for ethical issues or ethical and professional issues. Now, if you've seen the past papers and you look at the first question, this one. This is a very straightforward question, right? Asking you to comment, discuss, explain, or evaluate, whatever the verb is, any ethical issues relevant and recommend appropriate actions to be taken. So the examiner is asking you that the examiner wants you to comment or discuss on the ethical issues relevant in the case study, and then you need to take some appropriate action for each ethical issue. So the focus is just on the ethical issues here and then the appropriate action. So this is a straightforward question and there is no confusion in this question, right? But when you look at the second question, which is about ethical and professional issues, issues is evaluate, comment, identify, and explain ethical and professional issues, and recommend any actions. So if you look at the first question and you look at the second question, in the first question, the examiner is only asking for the ethical issues. Whereas in the second question, the examiner is asking for ethical and professional issues and recommend any actions. Actions is an integral part, right, of the question number one and of the question number two on your screen. But in the first question, you're only looking at the ethical issues, whereas in the second question, you're looking for ethical and professional issues. I hope you all agree with me that these are very common questions in the past paper. The first one and the second one. And I hope you must have seen the first type of question multiple times in the past paper, and you must have seen the second type of question multiple times in the past paper. Is that true, everyone? Are you familiar with the first type of question, and are you familiar with the second type of question on your screen? Okay, now the first type of question is very simple, right? The reason for that is you have the double A knowledge. Because you have the double A knowledge, so all of you are very good in picking up the ethical issues. All of you are very good in picking up the threats to objectivity, right? Because you have a knowledge of the F8 paper or you have the knowledge of the double A paper. So when you have the knowledge of the double A paper, you are very good in picking up the ethical issue. You are very good in picking up the threats to objectivity and the safeguards and the safeguards. But when you look at the second question, in the second question, you are very good on the ethical side, but a lot of students have a fear factor with professional issues. A lot of students have a fear with professional issues. Either they're not clear what are professional issues, either they don't know how to identify a professional issue. And for some reason or the other, they have a very high stress level when the examiner asks for professional issues. Is that the right perspective? I believe all of you are very comfortable with ethical issues. Is that true? Your quick answers? Are you all very comfortable picking up the ethical issues from the case study because you have a carry forward effect coming from the F8 paper? Okay, but what about professional issues? How many of you have a stress level with professional issues? How many of you have a stress level with professional issues? Or you feel scared with professional issues? Okay, that's great, right? So I will be focusing on that with clarity today, right? Okay, now first of all, when you look at the ethical issues in the paper, and I can just take on my Word file quickly for that, for the day three, you can see the Word file, everyone, the day three Word file in front of you, right? And we're starting with the objective, which is an important objective for today. The objective today is first to discuss the ethical and professional issues, and then later to discuss the quality control issues. So the first one, ethical and professional issues, right? Now, the very first thing that in an exam paper, when the question is asking you ethical issues, right? Suppose that is a question asking for ethical issues. Then that's very simple, right? Uh, your step number one would be your step one would be that you read the case. Your step two would be to identify any threats to objectivity in the case study, any threats to objectivity within the case, or any conflict of interest, because conflict of interest is also an ethical issue, or there might be some problems relating with confidentiality. I hope you're very familiar with the definition of ethics. Ethics either means threats to objectivity, which is very common, right? Ethics either means any conflict of interest. I hope you're very familiar with conflict of interest, that is doing audit of competitors. One audit firm can do audit of competitors, right? I hope you're familiar with that concept, everyone. Quick answers. Are you familiar with conflict of interest from the AA paper, the F8 paper? One audit firm doing audit of competitors, right? So that is also part of the ethical issues in the in the AAA paper. And confidentiality. You have knowledge about confidentiality, and you have knowledge about the auditor responsibility for confidential information gathered during the course of the audit. And you also know when, in what circumstances can the auditor whistleblow confidential information. So when you look at the AAA paper and you're reading the case on ethical issues, the case can either have threats, number one, the case can either have conflict, number two, or the case can have a problem relating to confidentiality. There can be nothing else than that. Now, in the step three, when you move towards the step three, you need to explain why it is an ethical issue. So, in the step two, you identify the ethical issue, right? But in the step three, you explain why it is an ethical issue, because you know that without a why, you cannot score marks in the AAA paper. You need to justify everything, right? Yesterday, we were doing the topic risk. We need to justify risk to score marks. So your examiner likes you to write why. Explain why it is an ethical issue. You cannot just say this is a self-review threat. You need to justify why it is a self-review threat. Or you cannot just say this is a familiarity threat. You need to justify why it is a familiarity threat. Or you cannot just say this is a conflict of interest. You need to justify why it is a conflict of interest. So till the time you don't explain why, you're not scoring marks. So explain why it is an ethical issue, right? So you will get 1 mark. 1 mark is equal to identify plus explain. So the moment you identify and explain, you get 1 mark, right? And then thereafter, in the step number 4, because there is an ethical issue, so you will recommend an appropriate action. You will recommend an appropriate action to overcome the ethical issue. And for recommending the appropriate action to overcome the ethical issue, you will get 1 mark for that as well. So for writing an ethical issue, 1 mark, and for writing an action, 1 mark. So I hope you're very familiar, very satisfied with the 4 steps coming on your screen. Step 1, read the case. Step 2, identify the issues. Step 3, explain why it is an issue. And step 4, recommend an appropriate action. Right? So is that clear to everyone? So this is the ethical issues, right? So now try to understand one thing. There is an examiner criticism here with ethical issues. And the examiner criticism with ethical issues, even though you have a carry forward knowledge from the AA paper, you have a carry forward knowledge from the AA paper, the F8 paper, but still the examiner is very critical of ethical issues in the AAA paper. Let's see what is the criticism of the examiner. If I take you to the presentation, and I hope you remember that on the day 1 of the webinar, we were discussing the March 2020 criticism. And I have one suggestion from the March 2020 paper right in front of your screen now. Look at this March 2020 examiner criticism in front of your screen. It says, this is March 2020 paper, right? Overall, candidate had a reasonable attempt at the ethical issues arising. So examiner is very happy saying that the candidates had a reasonable attempt at the ethical issues. So he's very happy, right? Reasonable attempt is very good, right? But then the examiner says, however, it is extremely disappointing to see incorrect rules stated for partner rotation and the fee level relating to a listed company. And then the examiner is giving you a suggestion. It is important for candidates to ensure that they have sufficient knowledge of the ethical guidelines and can apply these guidelines to a question. You should have sufficient knowledge of the ethical guidelines. You should have sufficient knowledge about the rules of rotation. You have sufficient knowledge about the fee levels. You should have sufficient knowledge about whether something is prohibited or whether something is permissible. So you should have sufficient knowledge of the safeguards. You should have sufficient knowledge of the ethical issues given in the code of conduct. Now, from where can you have sufficient knowledge of ethical guidelines? Because examiner wants you to have sufficient knowledge. Examiner wants you to have sufficient knowledge of ethical guidelines. Now, what is the source of that? There is no article, right, which covers the ethical guidelines, because the only article written by the examiner is on how to write an answer. So, sufficient knowledge on ethical guidelines will come from where? And I normally believe that this is one of an area where you have to read the book. Now, either you need to read the chapter, you need to read the chapter on ethical guidelines. This is one area of the syllabus where I, as a tutor, recommend you to read the book, read the chapter on ethical guidelines of either the Kaplan book or either the BPP book. So this is one area where I am recommending you to read a chapter, because mostly I recommend you to read an article. So is that clear with everyone? So you should have you still have 5 weeks, right? So reading one chapter from a book, is that difficult? Will you be reading the chapter on ethical guidelines so that you can overcome the examiner criticism? Examiner wants you to have sufficient knowledge, right? So in order to take the sufficient knowledge, will you be reading the book for this, right? So please ensure that you have sufficient knowledge of the ethical guidelines, right? And you should read the book. So this is about ethical issues. So I've given you the marking scheme of ethical issues, right? I've given you the criticism of examiner on ethical issues. And in the step number 2, I have even given you the boundaries of the ethical issues, right? So the step number 2 is telling you the boundaries of ethical issues in the AAA paper. Okay, now let's move down towards the professional issues. Professional issues, because I need to attempt a question with you as well. Professional issues. Now, when a question asks for professional issues, this is an area where the fear factor starts to increase among the student community, because they have a lack of awareness about what basically are professional issues. Now, to understand what basically are professional issues, the step number 1 again will be the same. Step 1, read the case. Fine. Step number 2, identify any issue in the case which is other than ethical issue. Now, suppose you're reading a case, right? And while you were reading the case, you were very sure that this is an issue. You were very sure that this is an issue, but that was not an ethical issue. That was not a threat to objectivity. That was not a confidentiality issue. That was not a conflict of interest. But you were 100% sure that this is an issue. Look at the step number 2 again, right? Identify any issue. Identify any issue in the case which is other than ethical issue. Look at this. I'm putting it in the red color. So if you identify an issue in the case which you believe is an issue, and which you definitely believe is an issue, but that is not a threat to objectivity, that is not a confidentiality problem, that is not a conflict of interest problem. So will you identify the issue, or will you just ignore the issue? So identify any issue in the case which is other than ethical issue. So when you are reading the case, can you find an issue which is not an ethical issue? Leave the examples. Leave the examples. Just give me the answer to my step number 2, everyone. Identify any issue in the case which is other than ethical issues, which can be anything. So should your focus be on the issue, or should your focus be on the class of issue? Tell me. Should your focus be on identifying the issue, or should your focus be on identifying the class of issue? What is the central idea? What is the central idea? Should you pick the class of issue? A majority of the student is saying no, we have to pick the class of issue. Will the examiner give me marks to classify the issue, or will the examiner gives me mark for explaining the issue, why it is an issue? Examiner, you are a manager, right? You are a manager in the AAA paper. How will you get marks for classifying the issue? Those of you who are telling me classifying the issue, you are all giving the wrong answers, right? With very minority students giving the right answer. You are a manager, right, in the AAA paper. Agree or disagree? All of you, right? So when you agree you are a manager, so will I get marks for classifying the issue, or will I get marks for explaining why it is an issue? So try to understand that you need to identify any issue in the case which is other than the ethical issue, and you just pick it up. You just pick it up because you believe it's an issue, irrespective whether it is an ethical issue or not. And then in the step 3, you explain why it is an issue because you pick it up. Explain why it is an issue. Who picked the issue? You or me? In the step number 2, who picked the issue? While you were reading the case, who picked the issue? You, right? So then who should explain the step number 3? Why it is an issue? Because you picked it up. And then in the step number 4, obviously, because you picked up an issue, you need to recommend an appropriate action. Recommend an appropriate action. I'll be giving you examples, don't worry about it. It's too early, right? Just 10-15 minutes into the session. And in the step 4, recommend an appropriate action. So when you explain why it is an issue, identify plus explain, you get 1 mark, just like above, right? And when you put action, just like above, you get 1 mark for action. So the same marking scheme. Now try to understand what I was just telling to you. For the student guidance, right? Student guidance. There is so much fear factor, right, around professional issues, right? And the student starts to get into panic in the exam paper when they need to identify a professional issue. Now, please understand one thing with clarity, that first of all, you need to clarify your role in the AAA paper. Your role in the AAA paper is of a manager, right? The question says you are an audit manager, which is very important. Now, when you are an audit manager, the question says evaluate the ethical and professional issues relevant and recommend appropriate action. Now look at the question mark, right? And the marks are 8, for example, right? For example, you are a manager You need to evaluate the ethical and professional issues relevant and recommend appropriate action. Now, be critical here and listen to me for 5 minutes before you react. Now, what will I do if I am attempting the paper in the exam hall? What will I do? First of all, I assume I am a manager. Then I need to evaluate the ethical and professional issues and recommend action. So, what will I do next? I would start to read the case, and while reading the case, I'll identify or I'll annotate the issues irrespective whether they are ethical or professional. You just need to pick an issue irrespective whether it is an ethical issue or a professional issue. Your focal point is to pick issues. And the moment you pick up an issue, you need to explain why it is an issue. And finally, for every issue, you need to recommend an appropriate action. Because if you are in a confusion of ethical and professional, you are not a manager. Rather than your focus has to be on the issue. Your focus has to be on the issue relevant to the case study. See this yellow. Your focus should not be on the class of the issue. Your focus should be on the issue relevant. So where will you find the relevant issue in the case study? So you will identify the issue relevant in the case study, irrespective whether it is ethical or professional. Tell me, do you need to solve question like this? Do you need to solve question like this? This is a question to all of you, right? Two columns. Column 1, column 2. Ethical issues. Column 2, professional issues. Do you need to solve question like this? If you think you need to solve question like this, then better attempt the F8 paper, not the P7 paper. Do you need to solve question like this in P7? If I need to solve a question like this, then I need to classify the issue. In one side, I'll write all the ethical issues. On the other side, I'll write the professional issues. And my examiner will be so happy that I've classified the issue, because what you're looking down is basically an example of classifying issues, which is totally wrong in the AAA paper, which is totally wrong in the AAA paper. So let's put a big cross here. Let's put a big cross here. Now, how you need to solve, how your examiner expect you to solve the question on issues. How your examiner expects you to solve a question on issues. Number one, identify the issue, put the issue, as a heading, which I will just be solving in front of you. When you identify the issue, whatever that issue is, put the issue as a heading and then explain why it is an issue plus an appropriate action, in one paragraph. So you will get 1 mark for explaining why it is an issue, and you will get 1 mark for an appropriate action. So you will get 2 marks straight away, right? So are you getting the perspective? So tell me one thing before I give you an example by solving a past paper in front of you. What is my focus? Should I be confused in bifurcating the issues when I'm reading the case study? Or should I be clear picking up the issue irrespective whatever the issue is? What is the right approach? The first one or the second one? So should I focus on picking up the issues, whatever they are? Or should I be confused? No, this is an ethical issue. No, this is a professional issue. No, this is an ethical issue. No, how can this be an ethical issue? This is a professional issue. Should I read the case like such? Should I read the case like such? Should I be thinking about, no, is it an ethical issue? No, is it a professional issue? And I keep wasting my time. So do you believe this first approach is right or the second one is right? Just pick up an issue. Just pick up an issue, whatever the issue is, and explain why it's an issue. Right? So is everyone confirmed that the second is the right approach for exam paper? Right? Now, for example, before I take you to the case study, right? Okay, let's go down and start with a drill of a case study, because that's the only way you will become clear, right? Because a lot of students are saying the first is the right approach, right? Numan Atta, you're saying first is the right approach. That means I need, when I'm reading the case, I need to think about, no, this is an ethical issue, this is a professional issue. You believe, Numan, this is the right approach? Then you better prepare yourself for the March 2021 exams, right? Rather than preparing yourself for the December 2020 exams. Because if you think the first one is the right approach, then that's calling a serious reinvestigation whether you should give the December exams or not. Okay, let's investigate, right? Okay, let's drill a paper. Let's drill a past paper, because that's the only way I can tell you what I try to mean. We just need to read the case, and from the case, we'll just identify the issue, and we'll keep highlighting the issues. So far, we end the answer. Let's drill a paper on ethical and professional issues. And I will just portray what I try to mean, that you just need to identify the issue rather than confused about the class of the issue, right? Just focus on it, and many of your questions will be resolved which you are asking. Now stop your questions, focus on the drilling. Okay, the first one we're looking for is September 18 question number 2b, and I'm putting the September 18 question number 2b in front of you. Look at the September 18 question number 2b in front of your screen. I hope you can all see that. Question number 2b, September 18 exams, in front of your screen. Look at the requirement of this question. Just read the requirement in 1 minute and tell me you have read the requirement. Right? This is a typical requirement. Is the examiner saying classify the ethical and professional issues, categorize the ethical and professional issues? Are you giving the F1 paper, the F8 paper? Or is the examiner saying comment on the ethical and professional issues? The examiner just wants you to comment on the issue, comment on why it is an issue, right? Rather than the examiner wants you to categorize the issue, or the examiner wants you to explain the issue, or rather classify the issue, right? Just see comment. So if I just take this to my Word file, this is the requirement, and the examiner is saying you need to comment, and you need to comment on the issues raised. Issues raised where? Issues raised where? Issues raised in the case. Issues raised in the case. And for the issues raised in the case, you need to recommend an action. You need to recommend any action. Any action which can resolve the issue, which can resolve the issue. So you are a manager, right? And you need to comment on the issues raised. And for every issue you raised, you need to comment on the action to resolve that issue. So how many marks we have? 8. So should I be dividing 8 marks with 1 to know how many marks I need to answer? So first of all, I'll do my planning. Planning the answer. Now, when I'm planning the answer, I will first of all look for 8 marks, and knowing if I write an issue, I get 1 mark. If I write an action, I get 1 mark. So I straight away divide this by 1 mark per relevant point, whether that relevant point is an issue or whether that relevant point is an action. Am I right? Whether that relevant point is an issue or whether that relevant point is an action, I will get 1 mark per relevant point. So is equal to how many points I need to write in the answer? a total of 8 points, whether they are issues, or action, whatever. Is everyone clear on the planning of the answer? So how many total points I have to write, whether they are issues or whether they are actions? In total, how many points I need to write? 8, right? So that is how you plan the answer. And a lot of times students don't plan the answer, which is very bad. Now, once you plan the answer, what will you do? Your step number 1 will be to read the case. And when you're reading the case, you will identify the issues and annotate them. You will identify the issues and annotate them, not classifying the issues, right? Read the case, identify the issues, and annotate them, not classifying the issues. So is everyone ready for the step 1 to read the case and identify the issues, whether they are ethical or professional? No confusion of that, right? Okay, I'm giving you 3 minutes, and I'm putting the question in front of your screen. And for the next 3 minutes, I will be silent. You will read the 3 paragraphs coming in front of your screen and see how many issues can you identify, irrespective whether they are ethical or professional. You're not going into the classification of the issues. Your time starts now. And after 3 minutes, please put the message in the chat box, done. So the moment you say done, I'll start my webinar. 3 minutes, I'm silent, you start. Your time starts now, everyone. Okay, 1 minute has gone, another 2 minutes remain. Okay, the last minute remaining. The last 30 seconds now. Please ensure that you've read the case in full and on a piece of paper, you have identified the issues and see, are you capable of finding 8 marks? Has anyone been able to develop the 8 marks? You are into the last 15 seconds now. Okay, the time is up now. So let's start to investigate what have you identified, and you need to reconcile yourself once I start my answer. So in the next 10 minutes, I will speak and you will listen, and then I'll give you a time for a question and answer session, right? So focus on the screen. What is exactly happening? Okay, can you see the word file in front of your screen? I just copied the case study on my word file. Okay, can all of you see the word file in front? Everyone, quick answers. Okay, that's great. Okay, now if you can see the word file, I'm using this word file for an analysis, and I'll just analyze how you read the case, because a lot of times students don't even know how to read a case study and identify the issue. Okay, so suppose I'm in the exam hall and I'm reading the case. And while I'm reading the case, I'm just doing my rough working. And in the rough working, see what I identify. Your client portfolio as an audit manager at Quorum and Company, your client portfolio as an audit manager at Quorum and Company includes a client known as Turner Company, which is a listed financial institution, which is a listed financial institution. To me, this is a very important information. So in my rough working, I will put the point number one, it's a listed company. Because I know that when I am attempting a question on ethical and professional issues, the listed company can play a very remarkable part in finding the right actions, because there might be some changes in actions for a listed company versus a non-listed company, particularly when you are focusing on the ethical issues. I hope all of you know the difference between a listed and a non-listed company and the code of conduct. There are a lot of places in code of conduct where something is prohibited for a listed company, but that same thing is allowed for a non-listed company. And that was the reason that at the beginning of my webinar, I recommended all of you to read the chapter from the book on ethics, because the examiner was not very happy with students knowing the rules of ethics. So it's better you revise the rules of ethics, and you should know the difference between a listed company and a non-listed company. So for me, the very first important point is listed company. Let's see how critical this become later in my answer. So it's a listed financial institution offering loans and credit facilities to both commercial and retail customers. So it's a financial institution, right? Full stop. Next line. You have received an email from the audit supervisor who is currently supervising interim testing on systems and controls in relation to the audit for the year ended 31st of October. So far, everything is fine, right? This email gives you the following details. So the email you got from the supervisor, now perhaps the email contains the problems. So you need to find the issues from the email of the supervisor. Let's see what the supervisor is telling you. You are a manager. The first thing the supervisor is telling you is one of the audit team member, Janet, one of the audit team member, Janet, has provisionally agreed to take a loan with Turner Company to finance the purchase of the domestic resident. So Janet has provisionally agreed to take a loan with Turner Company to finance the purchase of his domestic residence. I hope you all identified this as the first problem. So let's take this as my rough working and my point number two. So Janet has provisionally agreed to take out a loan with Turner to finance the purchase of a domestic residence. Number three, the loan will be secured on the property, and the client business manager has promised Janet that he will ensure that she gets the very best deal which the bank can offer. The business manager has promised Janet that he will ensure that Janet gets the best deal which the bank can offer, because the bank manager know, or the business manager know, that Janet is the audit team member, and if we give a preferential treatment to Janet, we can compromise the objectivity of Janet. So the business manager is saying, or the business manager is promising Janet that you will get the very best deal from the bank, because the bank knows the position of Janet as an audit team member. So this is another issue, right? Best deal we can offer. So I'm taking this as my issue number three, and I'll justify every issue I'll write. You come to the next paragraph. The payroll manager at Turner has asked the supervisor if it would be possible for Quorum and Company to provide a member of a staff on secondment to work in the payroll department. If it is possible. The next issue. If it is possible for Quorum and Company to provide a member of staff on secondment to work in the payroll department. So they're asking you, is it possible? Is it not? Can you give us a staff on a secondment basis for 6 months to work in the payroll department, because we have lack of staff in our payroll department? So we need to respond to their request. So that becomes the fourth problem. The payroll manager has struggled to recruit a new supervisor for the organization main payroll system. So the organization, the Turner Company, is struggling finding a new supervisor for the payroll department. And in the absence of that, they want the audit firm to help them. And they want a staff of the audit firm to be seconded in the payroll department. And he wants to assign a qualified member of the audit firm for an initial period of 6 months. So they want a qualified member from the audit team for a period of 6 months. So they are asking you if it is possible for Quorum and company to provide a member, and which member they're asking for. They're asking for a qualified member who can work there for 6 months. So that wraps up the case study. Now, I have broken the case into 5 points, right? A listed company, which to me is very important. Then Janet, which is a member of the team, has provisionally agreed. So she has provisionally agreed to take a loan because she wants to finance her domestic residence. The business manager, knowing that Janet is the member of the team, has promised to give Janet the very best deal. And then the payroll manager at Turner has asked you that if you can provide a staff in the payroll department for 6 months, if that is possible. And if it is possible, he wants a qualified member for a period of 6 months. Now, this is my rough working. Now, the moment I have annotated my points, which you can do in the exam paper, now you need to think about the issue and why it is an issue. The issues are in front. Let's go down explaining each one of them. See how you go with it. Issues above. Now you just need to go with plus why it is an issue. And for every issue, you need to think of an action. See how we go down. Now, let's go one by one. I will be going in the bullets form and discussing each point with you. And then I'll just draft one with you so that you know how to write it. Okay, now focus for next 5 minutes. No Q&A sessions, right, for the next 5 minutes. Okay, let's go with the first point. It is a listed company, right? Will make an impact when I answer my actions. So I'm just holding listed company, and we're starting with the very first point. Janet has provisionally agreed to take a loan. Now, in my first point, take a loan. Take a loan. This will become my heading. And under the heading, I would be telling that if Janet if Janet Scott, if Janet Stott, sorry, if Janet Stott agrees to take a loan from Turner to finance Turner, this will give rise to a self-interest threat. This will give rise to a self-interest threat, full stop. This will give rise to a self-interest threat because the loan will help because the loan will help Janet with the purchase to finance the purchase of his domestic residence, which is the self-interest of Janet, right? Because the loan will help Janet with the purchase of her domestic residence. So, do you believe purchase of her domestic residence is the self-interest of Janet, and that is the reason she wants a loan? So, which will help Janet with the purchase of her domestic residence. Full stop. So, if Janet Stott agrees to take a loan from Turner, this will give rise to a self-interest threat. Look at this, which most of the students miss in the exam paper. Look at this word because. Am I telling why it is a self-interest threat? Because this loan will help Janet with the purchase of her domestic residence, which is the self-interest of Janet. You cannot just write a threat without because. Now, after I put the full stop, do I need to tell examiner this is an ethical issue? Do I need to tell this? No. Because I've already told examiner that this is a self-interest threat and why it is a self-interest threat. So have I focused on the issue and why it is an issue? So this is an ethical threat? No. I should not be putting this line. Red and cross, red and cross, red and cross. So if Janet Stott agrees to take a loan from Turner, this will give rise to a self-interest threat because the loan will help Janet with the purchase of a domestic residence. Put a full stop. Next point. Further, look at the next point. Further, the moment I put the further, I'm getting more marks. Further, because the because the business manager has agreed to offer the best deal to Janet, it seems the loan offered to Janet will not be an arm length transaction. Do you all agree with this? Because the business manager is saying, I'll give the best deal to Janet. Look at the terms, best deal to Janet. Do you all agree that it seems this is not an arm length transaction? This is not a transaction which could have been taken place in the normal course of business. So is the business manager giving preferential terms to Janet? Has agreed to offer the best deal to Janet. Because the business manager has agreed to offer the best deal to Janet, it seems the loan offered to Janet will not be an arm length transaction. Rather, it is to be given at a preferential terms, knowing that Janet is an audit team member, knowing that Janet is an audit team member, knowing that the Janet is an audit team member, and this preferential treatment will compromise the objectivity of Janet, will compromise the objectivity of Janet. Agree, disagree? Do you believe this preferential treatment by the business manager will compromise the objectivity of Janet? Janet will be so happy, right? Janet will be so happy that the business manager has helped me getting the loan at the best terms. So further, because the business manager has agreed to offer the best deal to Janet, it seems it's not an arm length transaction and the loan has been given at a preferential terms. This will compromise the objectivity of Janet, full stop. And you get to the next paragraph. This will give rise to the familiarity threat. This will give rise to a familiarity threat as the preferential treatment will make Janet too much sympathetic towards the client, and the client management and the client management and the client management which and the client management, full stop. So this will give rise to a familiarity threat because of the preferential treatment. I justified that. And see how many marks I've got. 1 mark I got for the self-interest threat. 1 mark I got for, just 1 minute. 1 mark I got for explaining the preferential treatment, this one. And 1 mark I got for converting the preferential treatment into a familiarity threat, another 1 mark. Now I come to the safeguard. If Janet, if Janet agrees to take a loan from Turner, because it says provisionally agree. So if Janet agrees to take a loan from Turner, she should not be part of the audit team. She should not be the part of the audit team for the upcoming final audit. Currently, which audit is taking place? Currently, the interim audit is taking place. Have you read the paragraph carefully? It says, currently, we are doing the interim audits, interim testing. So final audit is yet to take place, right? This is currently the interim audit. So if she agrees to take the loan, she should not be part of the upcoming final audit of Turner. That is a safeguard. So can she take a loan? She can, but should she be part of the audit team? She should not be part of the audit team. Have I put the safeguard? 1 mark. How many marks have I scored just on take a loan? Take a loan was the first problem. But see my entire drafting. In my entire drafting, can you see this is an ethical issue? This is a professional issue. Have I wrote anywhere the word professional? Have I wrote anywhere the term ethical? Read my full answer. Will you find anywhere the term ethical, anywhere the term professional? Was I just focusing on issue and why it is an issue, everyone? Is everyone clear? So is everyone clear on how I wrote the answer? Did I focus on ethics and professional, or did I just focus on the issue and why? See how I wrote my paragraphs. 4 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs under take a loan. So please put a heading. Please put a heading in the exam paper, just like this, take a loan. So the assessor knows what you're writing. Can we move to the second issue and wrap up the answer so that we can spend time on the quality control issues then? Okay, is everyone ready for the second issue, which was the staff secondment, right? Okay, now moving towards the next issue, right? Uh, Point number 4, look at the point number 4. The client Turner has asked Quorum, the audit firm, to provide a member for secondment for 6 months. And for 6 months, the member will be working in the payroll department, right? So the second point will become secondment of staff, right? So let's put the heading secondment of staff. Staff secondment in the payroll department, right? Staff secondment, payroll department. So will this heading help my assessor checking my paper? And will my assessor be uh, picking which point am I writing? Right. So staff secondments, right? Payroll department. Now, in terms of the staff secondment for the payroll department, the very first thing you need to tell the examiner is that there is nothing wrong in staff secondment on a temporary basis. There is nothing wrong in staff secondment on a temporary basis for a short period of time. For a short period of time, there is nothing wrong in staff secondment on a temporary basis on a temporary basis that is for a short period of time. That is for a short period of time. There is nothing wrong in a staff secondment to a client. To a client on a temporary basis that is for a short period of time, full stop. I wrote the action first, telling the examiner that a staff secondment is possible. There is nothing wrong in the staff secondment to a client on a temporary basis that is for a short period of time, full stop. Next point. However, comma, if the staff is seconded, if the staff is seconded in the payroll department, in the payroll department, it will give rise to a self review threat because payroll is a component of a financial statement. Payroll is a component of a financial statement which will later be audited by the same audit firm, and the audit firm will be reluctant an audit firm will be reluctant to review their own work. See how I justified the self review threat? Self review threat was the issue. Because is the why. Because is the why. So for every threat, you need to write because. However, if the staff is seconded in the payroll department, because payroll is a component of a financial statement, it will give rise to a self-review threat because payroll is a component of a financial statement, which will later be audited, on which you will apply the substantive procedures later. And the same firm, when apply the substantive procedures to payroll, they will be reluctant. They know they have worked on it, so they will be reluctant to review their own work. 1 mark. Further, payroll being part of the financial statements, payroll is part of, will be reluctant to review their own work, full stop. Then you come to the next part, you say, because Turner, because Turner is a listed company providing accounting and bookkeeping services, providing accounting and bookkeeping services. Payroll is accounting and bookkeeping service, right? Providing accounting and bookkeeping services is prohibited because Turner is a listed company. See the emphasis here, is a listed company. Had it been a non-listed company, then providing the accounting and bookkeeping service would have become permissible. But because Turner is a listed company, providing accounting and bookkeeping services is prohibited, as payroll is normally a material expense for any organization. Is a material expense for any organization. This is true, right? Payroll is a material expense for any organization, whether small, whether big, as payroll is normally a material expense for any organization. Now, now tell me some answers here. Can we send a staff on secondment? Sending the staff on secondment is not an issue, right? The code of conduct says, can you send a staff on secondment? The answer is yes. But in our case, we were sending the staff in the payroll department. And because it was a listed company, providing accounting and bookkeeping services is prohibited. So can we eventually send the staff? We cannot. So is staff secondment allowed? It is. But can we offer payroll services to the client? No, we cannot offer the payroll services to client because it was a listed company. So staff secondment is allowed, number one. But the problem came with the payroll. Payroll was prohibited because it's part of the accounting and bookkeeping services. No, I'm not writing two opposite safeguards, right? I'm first writing a safeguard on a staff secondment. Is staff secondment allowed? Yes. There are two issues here. One issue is a staff secondment. The second issue is working on the payroll. So staff secondment is one issue which is allowed. Working on the payroll is not allowed, right? So is everyone clear on staff secondment? Is everyone clear how I went down picking up the issues? So in my whole answer, was I focused on issues and why it is an issue, or was I focused on judging? Is it ethical? Is it professional? Is there something in the case which I missed out? Is there something in the case which I ignored? Or did I completely read the case? You need to read the textbook for the rules, right? You need to read the textbook for the rules for listed companies and non-listed company. Please revise the rules from the textbook, right? In a 3-hour webinar, I cannot give you the knowledge about what is allowed and what is disallowed, right? This is not a normal classroom. This is a webinar, right? So in the webinar, the tutor can only recommend you to read the book. So please ensure that you read a book, right? The safeguard over here is it's prohibited. So when something is prohibited, how can I apply the safeguard, right? So I'm just telling examiner this is prohibited. When something is permissible, only then we apply a safeguard, right? When something is prohibited, how can I apply the safeguard, right? Whoever was asking that illogical question. Yes, if you want to break this, you can break it into two parts. You can break it into staff secondment and payroll. You can break this into two parts if you want to. Yes, you can even think about the management threat here, because payroll is part of the management responsibility. So you can even discuss management responsibility here. Okay, now irrespective, come to the bottom line. Everyone, come to the bottom line. Have you been able to understand what you need to do? That when you are looking at a case on ethical and professional issues, what you need to do when you get a case on ethical ethical and professional issues, what you need to do, what you need to do. Number one, simply read the case, which I just read, right? Mohammed Sachal, the first point where I classified taking loan as self-interest was very clear. If you are a member of an audit team and you're working in a bank in Pakistan, and you want to take a loan from a bank to finance the purchase of your residence, is that not your self-interest? Is that not your self-interest that you want a loan for your personal residence? Is not personal residence your self-interest? And will that not compromise your objectivity that you're taking a loan from your audit client? No, loans are generally secured on property, right? That is a rules and regulation of the bank. But wasn't the bank giving you the loan on a preferential terms? Was it the bank giving you loans on preferential terms and conditions beside the secured of the property? Securing the property is a journal term of the bank, right? But is the business manager telling us that they will give Janet the loan on preferential terms? So was the business manager giving advantage to Janet just because of the team, just because of an audit team member? Right? So the Janet had a self-interest in taking the loan. She had a self-interest in buying the property. She had a self-interest in buying her residence, and the bank was helping her. Okay, so when you get a case on ethical and professional issues, right? What you need to do? Firstly, you need to simply read the case. You need to identify, or you need to annotate the issues. You need to identify or annotate the issues, and then you need to explain each of the issues, why it is an issue, why it is an issue, and then finally you recommend an action. Don't avoid avoid classification of issues. Avoid classification of issues. You are a manager. You are a manager, right? So these are the don'ts. Avoid classification of the issues. Okay, so is all of you clear on the very first part of our webinar today, where we were just identifying the question, ethical and professional issues, right? Okay, irrespective of your questions, which can be put on the WhatsApp group, and the other students can help you mitigate your questions, right? Because there are so many WhatsApp group for this webinar, and the students are keenly helping each and other students solving their problems. So I hope your problems will be solved over the WhatsApp group. But the purpose of the first 1.5 hour was to guide you about the examiner expectations on ethical and professional issues. I hope you're clear on that. So quick answers. In the first 1 hour of the session, have you been able to got some clarity on the question requirement, ethical and professional issues in terms of the marking scheme, in terms of the do's and don'ts, in terms of the examiner expectation? And another very important thing you still have is that you have to read, the examiner article, which is the exam technique article, part 1, ethics. And this article will tell you how to write an answer on ethical issues, how to write an answer on ethical issues. So please, you should be identifying issues from the case, relevant to the case, and you will be explaining why it is an issue. It is such a simple question in the AAA paper that you are given a short case study, you explore the short case study, you pick up the issues from the case study, and you then went ahead explaining why it is an issue. So read exam technique articles part 1 and also watch my previous webinars. Watch my previous webinars on ethical and professional issues, webinars on ethical and professional issues. You will get numerous examples of professional issues in my previous webinar. So you can explore the library on Vimeo ACCA Pakistan channel. Watch my previous webinars on ethical and professional issues recommended in my presentation. That will add value. That will add value, right? So this is very, very important for students. Let's put that as student guidance note. Number 1, number 2. So is everyone clear on that? Please ensure that you read this article, this important article which I'm showing in front of your screen. Can you see this article in front of your screen? Exam technique article, part 1, ethics. This is such a wonderful article which guides you about how to write a good answer on ethics. Please ensure you read this article, and with my lecture today, you will find the right way of the answer. So please go through this article, and this article will tell you what you need to know about ethics. Here, this article will tell you about how to apply knowledge in exam paper, which is very, very important. This article will give you some examples. Examiner has solved a question on Mumbai company from the past paper. An examiner has solved this, and you will be amazed to look at the examiner answer, that how the examiner picks up an issue and explain why it is an issue. So please go with the example given in the examiner article and how the examiner has solved this example. This is a wonderful article. If you have never read it before, please do read it, right? I hope that solves the first parameter. Now we have a second parameter, which is quality control issues. And before I start that, I will be taking a break. And after the break, we will be spending very good time because we will be starting at 10 p.m. back. So at 10 p.m. till 11:30 p.m., we will have a good 90 minutes to spend on quality control issues, which is another problematic area. And you will be amazed to learn some very good understanding of quality control issues in the last 90 minutes. I will be solving the June 16 paper for quality control, which you can see right in front of your screen now and has been shared with you as part of the webinar resources, right? So I hope you had a good first part, everyone. Your quick feedbacks on the very first part. We are going off to a break now for 15 minutes and we'll resume back after break looking at the quality control issues. I hope you're enjoying these webinars. This is the third day, and you're gaining some knowledge towards your exams coming up in December, right? And again, please consider these are free webinars. These are not paid classes where you expect everything. These are 15 hours of webinars, courtesy ACCA Pakistan. And ACCA Pakistan is giving you an opportunity of attending a 15 hours free webinar from expert tutors around Pakistan so that you can benefit in terms of success in December exams. And again, the bottom line is these are free webinars helping students across the world. So you need to find You need to comment on the webinar within the limitation that these are free, within the limitations that you're not incurring any cost, and within the 15 hours you are getting knowledge which can be really, really important for you in terms of success in the upcoming exams. Okay, with that note, I'm leaving you with a break. It's 9:45 p.m. in Pakistan, so a 15 minutes break, and we'll resume back at 10 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. And after that, we will be focusing on the quality control issues, right? So you should not be missing the last part of the webinar today, because I will be investigating the quality control issues in a very different manner, which I have not investigated before in my previous webinar. So you will have a real good session coming up in the last 90 minutes. So I'll see you all back after the break, and please keep putting your feedbacks within the break so I can just analyze your feedback quickly. Thank you very much. And if any question has been unattended, you have the WhatsApp group, and the WhatsApp group is such a wonderful platform for all of you to solve your problems, because the students can help you out on the WhatsApp group with your knowledge. Thank you very much. Off to a break, and in 15 minutes I'm resuming back. Okay, let me put it over here. I'm muting myself, right? A 15 minutes break till 10 p.m. Till 10 p.m. You can all have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, come back and enjoy the remaining part of the session. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Just a quick recheck of my sound. Is my voice clear to everyone? And can you see the screen in front of you, which is the day 3 ethical, professional, and quality control issues? Is the screen sharing going fine with all of you? Can you see the PowerPoint presentation back in front of you? Okay, that's great. So we are now starting with the second part of the day 3 today, and the focus will now shift up to quality control issues. Let's start on with the quality control issues now. Now, there is an article which you can see right here. There's an article on quality control, perpetual current issues. Again, this is a recommendable article and it has been shared with you as part of the day 3 resources. So you should be reading this article after the session ends today. We need to carefully evaluate the do's and don'ts of the examiner, and we need to solve a question which is June 16, question number 2A, which includes the quality control issues. So we'll connect that with this article as we progress to the second part of the day 3 today. Okay, and then you have a, an assignment question, which is the question number 3B from September 18 exams, which includes the quality control parameters. So let's start first discussing something about quality control and then apply that to an exam paper. Okay, we had a word on ethical and professional issues, so let's move forward. We had a word on the examiner criticism on ethical issues. Now that's bringing us to quality control issues. Now, when a question comes on quality control, and if you have carefully analyzed the past papers on quality control issues, and I'm again saying if you have carefully analyzed, because the problem with the students is that even though the exams are 5 weeks away, they still don't know the requirements of the question. They are still unaware of what type of a question comes on quality control. I really fails to understand that 5 weeks before exams and you're unprepared for AAA. Now, if you know the type of question which comes on quality control, and if you have seriously spent time on the past paper, look at the screen in front. It is giving you an idea of the type of question which comes on quality control and what is the difference between solving a question on ethical and professional issue and solving a question which includes quality control. Let's carefully evaluate the question. The question says, comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit of the Watson company. Look at this from here to here. Comment on the quality. What does the examiner wants you to do? The examiner wants you to comment on the quality of the planning and comment on the quality of the performance of the audit of the Watson company. Full stop. Discussing the quality control and other professional issues raised. So you have to discuss what? You have to discuss the issues raised. But beside discussing the issues raised, you have to do something extra. And what is that something extra? Which we were not doing in the question prior to the break. Prior to the break, we were just discussing the issues because the question was not asking us to comment on the quality. But look at this question. Is this question asking you to discuss the issues? And beside discussing the issues, is this question asking you to comment on the quality? So are there two things in this question? Number one, number two. This question is asking you to, number one, comment on quality, comment on the quality, Q. And the second thing this question is asking you is to discuss the issues. We have already discussed the issues in the question prior to the break. So do you all agree this question is asking two things? Number one is to comment on the quality. Should we comment on the quality? Should we not? Is the examiner asking us to comment on it, everyone? Do you all understand the question number one on your screen? So is the examiner asking something extra in this question beside discussing the issues? Were we discussing the issues prior to the break in the question of Quorum Company, in the question of Turner Company? That was something normal, right? That is something normal. Just 1 minute. That was something normal. But do you believe there is something extra here, which is the number one, comment on the quality? So what we need to learn, we need to learn in the next 90 minutes how we comment on the quality. Do we all know how to discuss the issue? Have I guided you in the first part of the webinar how we discuss the issue, irrespective what is the issue? We just need to identify the issue, right? And we need to explain why it is an issue. But if the question is on quality, beside explaining why it is an issue, you also need to comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. Look at the second question, very same. The second question again says, comment on the quality of the audit performed, just 1 minute. Comment on the quality of the audit performed, discussing the quality control and other professional issues raised. So same thing, we have to discuss the issues and we need to comment on the quality. So what is the difference between a question on ethical and professional issues and a question on a quality control issues? Can you feel the difference between the two, everyone? So are we preparing ourselves for the second part of our word file? And the focus now shifts to quality control issues. Okay, now the objective. Quality control matters. Now, when you get a question on ethical and professional issues, which you saw in the first 90 minutes of the webinar, and now we are looking at a question which comes on a quality control matter, you need to feel the difference. Feel the difference. And what is the difference? The difference is, look at the question carefully. Look at the question carefully. Okay, what's the question? Comment on the quality. Comment on the quality of planning. Comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit, comma, discussing the ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Discussing the ethical, professional, and quality control issues, full stop. Right, so comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit, discussing the ethical, professional, and quality control issues, question mark. Now this question has two things. Number one, the question says, comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. That's number one. Let's put that in yellow. And the second part of the question is discussing the issues, whatever the issues are. Again, we're not concerned about the class of the issue. Now, what is the step number one? Step one, again, is to read the case. Step two is to identify the issues. Identify the issues irrespective of the class, irrespective of the class, irrespective of the type. Step three is just what you did in the first part of the webinar today. Explain why it is an issue. But in the step four, you have something additional. Comment on the quality. Comment on the quality. And in the step five, if examiner asked for actions, then recommend actions. Then recommend actions. So if the examiner asks for actions, then recommend actions. Okay, so what's the different step here, everyone? Out of the 5 steps, what is the different step which you have no knowledge of in the first 90 minutes of the webinar? Which step should we focus on? What is an additional step here which you didn't got knowledge in the first 90 minutes? Step number 4, wonderful. Comment on the quality. So should you all learn what does that mean, how to go about it? What does that mean and how to go about it? What does this means and how to go about this? Is that what the questions are coming into your mind as well? Are these the same questions which are popping in your mindset as well? Okay, so let's quickly get to the knowledge now, and we explore. The marking scheme will be the same, right? The marking scheme will remain same. That is 1 mark per issue, and you get 1 mark per comment. 1 mark per issue, 1 mark per action. Sorry, 1 mark per issue, 1 mark per action. So, will you get any marks on commenting on the quality? Will you get any marks when you comment on the quality? No, because the comment on the quality will be connected with the issue. So 1 mark per issue plus the comment on the quality. You will not get any additional marks for the comment on the quality, but you have two. So 1 mark per issue plus the comment on the quality. So will you get an additional marks for the comment on the quality? Yes or no? Will you get any additional marks for the comment on the quality? No, right? You will still be getting the 1 mark. But are you doing something extra than what you did prior to the break? Are you doing something extra than what you did prior to the break? You are. But are you getting some extra marks here? Right? No extra marks, right? So let's start to discuss the quality control. Now try to understand the question. The question is asking you comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. Comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. That's one question. Or the second question asks you comment on the quality of the audit performed. Were these the two questions on my presentation? Comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. And the second question was comment on the quality of audit performed, discussing the ethical, professional, and quality control issues. Look at this PowerPoint presentation again. Let me erase everything. Look at the first question. Comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. So quality of planning and performance of the audit. And in the second question, quality of the audit performed. So where is the examiner focusing? Is the examiner asking you the quality of everything? Or is the examiner just asking you the quality of the audit performed? Quality of planning, quality of performance. So what is the focal point of the examiner? Which area quality you should know? As a student, you should just know the quality which relates with planning, and you should know the quality which relates with performance. Am I right? Is that what the examiner is expecting from you? So examiner is saying comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit. Or in the second question, the examiner is saying comment on the quality of the audit performed. So is the examiner very clear about the scope of quality in the AAA paper? That as a student, you should know the quality of planning and the quality of performance? Or as simple as that, what compromise? What compromise the quality at the stage of planning, at the stage of planning, and at the stage of performance? So as a student, should you know what compromise the quality of the audit at the stage of planning and performance? Then you can be capable of picking up the issue. Then you are capable of commenting on the issue. And as a student, if you don't know what compromise the quality at the stage of planning or performance, will you be able to comment on it? So as a student, is it important to know what compromise the quality? Is it important or is it not important? If you know what compromise the quality, then you will be able to judge, then you will be able to comment on the quality of planning and performance, right? So let's start the exercise. Let's see whether you know planning and performance. Let's see what you should be knowing for planning and performance to comment on the quality. Okay, now what you should know, what a student should know. what a student should know. Now, when you look at the audit, there are so many stages in the audit, right? But the examiner is saying planning and performance. So you should just focus on that. So, what a student should know, there is one term which a student should know very carefully. Let me guide you on that. Look at the article. Look at this article of the examiner, audit quality, in front of your screen. This article, which you will be reading in full, but I want to show you this article for 1 minute for one thing. If you look at this article tells you right on the page number 2. On the page number 2, the examiner is quoting the ISA 220. On the page number 2, the examiner is quoting the ISA 220, which is a quality control for the audit. And the examiner, by quoting the by quoting the ISA 220 on the second page, is telling us what are the components of quality. Can you see the examiner is giving you a list of 6 components here? Leadership, ethical requirements, acceptance of the client, assignment of the team, assignment of the audit team, engagement performance, and finally monitoring. Can you see the 6 elements which relates with quality of an audit firm? Right? Everyone, quick answers. Can you see the 6 bullets in front of your screen, which are basically the parameters of quality given in the ISA 220? Now, you cannot just rote learn them. And if you rote learn them, these are useless. Is the examiner expecting that you should know all 6 for exam paper? No. Examiner is saying comment on the quality of how audit is planned and performed. So examiner does not want a student to know all 6. Examiner just want you to know how audit is planned and performed. So where is planning and performance in the in this 6 bullets? Look at these 2 bullets. Look at these 2 bullets. This is planning and performance. This is planning and performance, the 2 bullets which I just bracketed. How audit is planned and performed. The bullet number 4 and the bullet number 5. You should know everything about these bullets, because the question paper, the case study in all the past papers are moving around the point number 4 and point number 5. You look at any case study in the past paper, it is moving around the point number 4 and point number 5, the entire case. You cannot just rote learn leadership, ethics, acceptance, assignment of team, engagement, performance, monitoring. You should know the application of the point number 4 and 5, because that is the literal meaning of the word, how it is planned and performed. So let me make that clear for you, right? So will you all remember the 2 elements in front of your screen, assignment of the team and engagement performance? Everyone? Okay, I'm just taking these 2 on my Word file, right? Okay, what a student should know. Number 1, the ISA 220, which deals with the quality control for audit. There are total 6 elements, right? There are total 6 elements in ISA 220, but these are useless for you, right? What you should be knowing as a student is the 2 elements. As a student, you should know, student should be very clear with the elements of quality, which connects with planning and performance, Now, which element connects with planning and performance? Number 1, assignment of the audit team, and number 2, engagement performance. These 2 elements. Now, do you all believe assignment of the team is very important? Because it is the team which is to perform the audit. So when you are assigning the team, do you believe the team has to be assigned versus the nature and complexity of the client? Do you need to assign the team looking at the nature and complexity of the client? Do you need to assign the team versus the size of the client? How big the client is versus the size of the team versus the size of the client? Okay. When you are assigning the team, should you be looking at the competence level of the team? Should you be looking at the competence level of the team? That the members in the team are competent. The members of the team are experienced, right? When you are assigning the team, you should be looking at their competence level. You should be looking at the size of the team, how big the team should be. So when you're assigning the team, it should not be too small. When you're assigning the team, it should not be too large. Yes, when you're assigning the team, you should also look at their independence, that the team assigned is independent. The team assigned is independent. So do you believe assignment of the team is connected with the performance of the work? If the team assigned is good, will that boost the quality of performance of the audit? Agree or disagree? If the assignment of the team is good, will that boost the quality of performance of the audit? But if you have a too small team for a too large client, will it compromise the quality of what you perform? If you have a too small team for a too large client, will it compromise the performance of the audit? If you have an incompetent team, will an incompetent team compromise the performance of the audit? So do you all agree assignment of the team is a very essential component of how audit is performed? Everyone? So assignment of the team is something very important in terms of performance of the audit, right? Okay, come to the next element, engagement performance. Most critical element from an examination point of view. Most critical element from an examination point of view. Most critical element from an examination point of view. Let's see why and how. I will be spending another 10 minutes on this now, and we need to practice a full exam paper so that you are able to comment on the quality. So I'll keep a good 40 minutes on practicing the past paper. We have a definite view on how to comment on quality. Okay, engagement performance. Now, what is engagement? Engagement is the service, right? Engagement means a service. Which service are we talking about? The audit service, right? And the performance of the service. Now, when we speak of the performance of the service, performance of the audit service, look at the three things the examiner is discussing in the performance of the service. Go back to the article, performance of the audit service. What is included in the performance of the audit service? Right? What is included in the performance of the audit service? Let's go back to the examiner article. Okay, can you all see the article back on the screen? And can you just read one thing from here? Can you read what's written in front of the engagement performance? Can you just read what's written in front of the engagement performance? Right? I hope all of you can hear me. My voice is clear to all of you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what's written in front of the engagement performance? Can you see the words written in front of the engagement performance? It says what? It says direction. It says supervision. It says review of the audit, including consultation, and an engagement quality control review. So how many things is the examiner highlighting in the article in terms of engagement performance? Direction is part of engagement performance. Supervision is part of engagement performance. Review is part of engagement performance. Consultation is part of engagement performance. And an engagement quality control review is part of engagement performance. Now, how many of these are important from an examination point of view? As a student, you should know the first three to solve a case study in AAA. Engagement performance includes three things. Number one, direction. Number two, supervision. Number three, review. So when you are performing an engagement, there are three critical components of an engagement performance. The most important critical component of an engagement performance is direction. Direction means planning. Direction means identifying the risky areas. Identifying the risky areas. Direction means setting the goal. Setting the goal. Setting the audit strategy. Setting the audit strategy before the start of the audit. Setting the audit plan before the start of the audit. So do you believe direction is an important part of engagement performance? Do you believe planning is an important part of performing the engagement? Can we perform engagement without planning? Will it compromise the quality? If we perform an engagement without direction, will it compromise quality, everyone? Will it not? It will, right? So do you believe direction is an essential component of performance? And if direction is absent, will it compromise the quality? If direction is absent in the exam paper, if direction is absent, will it compromise quality? Will it compromise quality? So will you read the question carefully to identify whether direction is absent or present? And if the direction is absent in the exam paper, will you comment on the quality? You should. Next, supervision. Do you believe supervision is a very essential component of performance? Because supervision means an ongoing monitoring. A supervision means check and balance on the audit team. A check and balance on the audit team. A check and balance on the audit team. On the audit team. Normally, your manager supervises the audit. Normally, your supervisor supervises the audit. It's an ongoing monitoring. It's an ongoing check and balance on the audit team to ensure that audit team is working effectively. So, should someone check the audit team? Should someone supervise the audit team? Is supervision really important to ensure the quality of performance? If I know someone is not checking me, will it compromise my quality? And if I know someone is checking me, will that boost my quality? So do you all agree that a supervision of the audit is a real important element to ensure that we are performing in an effective manner? And finally is the review. Review is at the end of task. Review is at the end of the task. It it is the review of the working papers. It is the review of the working paper file. Do you believe a review of the working paper file by the manager is very important to ensure that we have gathered sufficient appropriate audit evidence? So review is at the end of the task. It is to review the working papers. It is the review of the working paper file, which ensures that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been gathered. Sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been gathered. And review also ensure that there is proper documentation. There is proper documentation. So do you believe review is important towards performance of the audit? Because it concludes that we have gathered sufficient appropriate audit evidence. It concludes that there are proper documentation for the audit. So when you're performing the audit, every one of you, do you all realize that in the performance, direction is very important? In the performance, supervision is very important. In the performance, the review is very important. And when you're performing the audit, do you believe the audit team is very important? The assignment of the audit team. So will you remember these components from an examination point of view? The assignment of the team, the performance of the engagement, whatever I highlighted in the green in front of the screen. Will you remember the green, everyone? Is that difficult? Is that difficult to remember the assignment of the team? Is that difficult to remember direction, supervision, review? And if that is missing in the exam paper, will it compromise the quality? If above is missing, if above points are missing, if above points are missing or absent from the case study, will it compromise the quality? Will it compromise the quality? Right? Will you comment on the quality? If this is missing in the exam paper, will you comment on the quality if above is missing? If above is missing? Let's demonstrate that, right? Let's demonstrate that. So in terms of a student, if I am appearing for exams in December, should I know my scope of comment on quality? Should I know everything about quality, or should I just know the comment on the quality on how audit has been planned and performed? So is there a boundary which the examiner is setting for a student? Is there a boundary which the examiner is setting for a student how audit is planned and performed? Now, do I know everything about planning and performance? Right? Is everyone clear? Can you all hear me? Should we know everything about quality, or is there a limited scope of quality in the AAA paper? Is there a limited scope of quality in the AAA paper which you should know as a student? And have I explained you that limited scope? Is everyone clear on that limited scope from the examination point of view? Okay, that's wonderful. So can we start formulating an answer? Okay, let's do a drill, because the drill will make it more clear, right? If you have any confusions, the drill will make it absolutely clear. Let's start with the drill of the past paper on quality. And for that reason, we're taking the June 16 paper, which is quite a comprehensive one, question number 2A, and we're taking it as a drill. Okay, let's practice, because the practice will make you perfect. Okay, I'm putting the June 16 paper in front of you. You can all see that on your screen now, hopefully. When you look at this question, go down and look at the requirement. Just read the requirement quickly. See what is the requirement of this question. Have you read the requirement? Okay. Now, what is the requirement asking you? Let's take it to the Word file, because this is what I need to teach you, that you should plan the requirement. Should you read the requirement carefully in the exam hall? Does it really matter? Because if you're not reading the requirement carefully, you might be giving an incomplete answer to the examiner. Now, this question is worth 13 marks, and we know the marking scheme. See, what is the question asking? The question is asking, comment on the quality of the audit performed. Comment on the quality of the audit performed. Number one. So, should we comment on the quality of the audit performed? And do we know the parameters of audit performed now? Comment on the quality of audit performed. Of audit performed. Comment on the quality of the audit performed, right? So, do we know the parameters of quality? Do we know the parameters of quality of audit performed? Have we covered them? We have, right? So, are we mentally prepared to comment on it? Yes, we are mentally prepared to comment on it, right? Okay, come to the second thing. Then the second thing the examiner says, discuss. What the examiner wants us to discuss beside commenting on the quality, he wants us to discuss issues raised. I'm not concerned about the class of issues, right? I'm only concerned about the issues raised, whatever the issues are. So I just need to discuss the issues raised and explain why it is an issue. So I need to focus on two things, right? Number one, number two. And what is the learning point from this question? Discussing the issue or commenting on the quality? What are we learning from this question? How many marks we have? 13 marks divided by 1. How many points we need to discuss? We need to discuss 13 points to make the answer. To make the answer. Right? That's how you go down. Let's see the formulation of answer. Now, when you find a issue which relates with the quality control, when you find an issue which relates with a quality control element in the case study, example, like suppose you're reading the case and you find an issue in the case which relates to planning, or you find an issue in the case which relates with performance, or you find an issue in the case which relates with direction, or which relates with the assignment of the team was not rightly assigned, or there is a problem in the case which relates with supervision, or there is a problem in the case which relates with the review of the working paper. Now, these are all components you just studied above. So, if you find an issue in the case study which relates with something you learned just 5 minutes ago in terms of assignment of the team, in terms of direction, in terms of supervision, in terms of review, and you immediately recall these are components of quality. So if you find an issue which relates with quality control element in the case study, like planning, like performance, like direction, like assignment, like supervision, like review of working papers, etc., etc., you should explain the issue first. You should explain the issue first, followed by a comment on the quality, followed by the comment on the quality, full stop. If you find an issue which you believe is a component of quality, if you find an issue which you believe is a critical component of quality, you will first explain the issue, followed by a comment on the quality. Not necessarily every issue given in the paper relates with quality, but if you find an issue which is a critical component of quality. How would you know this issue is a critical component of quality? Have I given you knowledge on that, everyone? Will you be capable of picking the issue in a case which is a critical component of quality? Have I given you examples of that? So if you pick up an issue which you believe in the exam paper is a critical component of quality as per the knowledge of the day 3 of the webinar, you will not just explain why it is an issue, rather you will also comment on the quality. So do you need to do two things here? Look at the last conclusion of my, you should explain the issue followed by the comment on quality. So do you need to perform something extra beside explaining the issue? So you will explain the issue, number one, and secondly, you will comment on the quality as well. But if you find an issue in the paper which is not a quality control element, then will you comment on the quality? If you find an issue in the case which is not a component of a quality, will you still comment on the quality? No. But if you find an issue in the case which is a component of a quality, will you comment on the quality? Right? Is everyone clear on that? Right, let's go down doing some exercises, because that's the only way you become clear. Okay, let's start to read the case and let's start to identify the issue. Let's start to identify the issue. If I find any issue which relates with the component of quality, I will explain the issue and then will comment on the quality. Let's see the case study. Okay, I'm giving you 5 minutes. And in the 5 minutes, you will read the scenario as much as possible. And then we'll start drilling that if we find an issue which is a component of quality, we will not just explain the issue, rather we will also comment on the quality. Now, do everyone knows the component of quality? How many components of quality you should know when you're preparing for exams? Assignment of the audit team and engagement performance. And do everyone knows the assignment of the audit team breakdown? And do everyone knows engagement performance breakdown? Right? Let's find the answer. Okay, let's put the June 16 paper in front of you. Okay, can you just do one thing? We go one by one, right? Can you just read from here to here and then we go further? I have highlighted a certain case in orange. Can you just read the highlighted orange part in 2 minutes or 3 minutes? See if you can find an issue, and can you think this issue relates with quality? This issue relates with the component of the quality you just studied in the class today. Okay, can all of you see the screen of the past paper in front of you? Can all of you see the screen of the past paper? Okay, fine. Start reading it. You have 2 minutes. The para 1 and the para 2 in orange. Okay, have you been able to read the para 1 and para 2? That's wonderful. Okay, if you have read the para 1 and para 2, all of you, let's see what is the problem in the para 1 and para 2. Does the problem relates with a component of quality, or is it just a problem and does not connect with a component of quality? If it connects with a component of quality, we will comment on it, else we will just be discussing the issue. Let's find, is it a component of quality? Okay, let's read the case. You are a senior manager in Macau, a firm of chartered certified accountant. In your engagement quality control review, so you're performing an engagement quality control review, you have been asked to review the audit files of Stenley and Colloon Company, both of which have a financial year end at 31st of December. And the audit of both companies are nearing completion. So you are a manager and you are performing an engagement quality control review, and your company is Stenley, and both companies are near completion. So the audit is yet to end, but both companies are at the stage of completion. This engagement quality control review is performed at a completion stage, right? That is the right point when you perform the engagement quality control review, that is prior to the completion of the audit. Now, let's see what is the problem. Stenley is a food processor selling its products to wholesalers and supermarkets. From your review of the audit working paper. So as a manager, you are reviewing the working papers, right? Which is wonderfully good. You have noted that the level of materiality was determined to be 1.5 million at the planning stage. And this materiality threshold has been used throughout the audit. There is no evidence on the audit file that this threshold has been reviewed during the course of the audit. Do you believe this is the problem? Yellow. You set a materiality level at the start of the audit, which was $1.5 million. We do set materiality at the planning stage, right? And this materiality threshold has been used throughout the audit. And there is no evidence on the file that this threshold has been reviewed during the course of the audit. Do we need to review the materiality during the course of the audit? Or we just set the materiality at the planning stage and leave it? Do you believe materiality correlates with risk, and the risk can change from the planning stage to the performance stage? So do you believe the materiality level should be reviewed during the course of the audit, or should it just be set at the planning stage and shouldn't be reviewed? So do you all believe risk changes from the planning stage to the performance stage? And if the risk changes, should the materiality change? So at the planning stage, we set the materiality. So we cannot criticize the planning, right? Can we criticize the planning? If the question would have said no materiality level was assigned at the planning stage, we would have criticized the planning stage of the audit. But do you believe the planning stage of the audit has been done well? They set the materiality level. But where is the problem? The problem is that during the course of the audit, the materiality threshold, there is no evidence that during the course of the audit, this threshold has been reviewed. So someone reviewed it? Someone bothered to review it? No. So does it seems like a lack of supervision here? Does it seems like that no one was supervising the audit in a proper manner? Is that so, everyone? That it seems that the manager who was engaged with the audit, your audit manager, was not concerned about reviewing the materiality level. He was sleeping as a manager. He was lazy as a manager. He was not bothered about reviewing the materiality. Now, if the materiality threshold has not been revised during the course of the audit, what is the implication? Ask if the materiality threshold has not been revised, what is the implication for the audit? Suppose the materiality level should had been reduced should had been reduced to suppose there was a need to reduce the materiality level to $1.2 million, but no one reviewed it. Do you believe there is an implication of this? If the materiality level was to reduce, and we didn't reduce the materiality level, so have we performed less work? Do you believe if the materiality threshold goes down, our work increases? Does our work increases with a reduction in the materiality level? So we have not reviewed the materiality threshold. So is there a risk we have performed less work if it is to be reviewed, if it is to be reduced, for example, right? So we have not reviewed the materiality level. What is the implication of it? Now see how you write the answer. Will I first discuss the issue? Will I first just discuss the issue and explain why it is an issue? Is that right? Explain why it is an issue. Is that right? And if it is a quality control issue, I will comment on the quality as well. So tell me step number 1 and tell me step number 2. Do you all believe step number 1 is to be done irrespective? I will start with the step number 1, right? I will discuss the issue and explain why it is an issue. Everyone is getting that point? Okay, but if it is a quality control issue, I will comment on the quality as well. Do you believe this is an additional step? Now tell me, do I need to apply the step 2 to my point? Do I need to apply step 2 to my point of materiality? Do you believe if the materiality threshold has not been reviewed, this is the point hitting the supervision of the audit? And do you all believe supervision is a component of quality? Supervision is a component of how the audit should have been performed. So do you believe supervision is a component of quality? So should I be exercising my step number 2 in the point number 1? See how you go down writing the answer. See how to write an answer. Write an answer. Okay, I'll put the heading materiality level. Let's put that as a heading, materiality level. And under the materiality level, I write my point. Materiality level should be reviewed during the course of the audit because risk evolve risk evolve over time and is not static. So there are chances that risk might change during the course of the audit. Risk might change during the course of audit. Risk might change during course of audit, which causes the materiality level to change. Okay. Materiality level should be reviewed during the course of audit because risk evolve over time and is not static. So there are chances that risk might change during the course of audit, which causes the materiality level to change. As no materiality, uh, as materiality threshold was not changed, as materiality level was not reviewed during audit, there is a possibility that the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence gathered has been compromised. Do you all agree with this? As the materiality level was not reviewed during the audit, there is a possibility that the sufficiency and appropriateness of the evidence gathered has been compromised. If the level would have to be reduced. I've just discussed the issue and tell why it is an issue. What is the implication of the issue? If the materiality level has not been reviewed, what's the implication? Now, after the full stop, I realize in the exam paper that this is a quality control issue. So I change my paragraph and I need to do an extra effort. Let me write this in green. After the full stop, I say no review of the materiality level. No review of the materiality level means that there was a lack of supervision during the course of the audit. There was a lack of supervision during the course of the audit, and supervision is an important component of the engagement. Supervision is an important component of an engagement quality. Thus, the quality, thus the quality of supervision, thus the quality of the supervision has been compromised. Has the overall quality compromised? No, the quality of the supervision has been compromised. We need to be very specific, right? No review of the materiality level means that there was a lack of supervision, right? Do you all agree? No review of the materiality level means there was a lack of supervision or there was no supervision during the course of the audit? And do you all believe supervision is an important component of engagement quality? Have I commented on that? Thus the quality of the audit has been compromised, or thus the quality of the supervision has been compromised? Are we blaming the full audit, or are we blaming the supervision? Is supervision a component of quality? Is supervision a component of quality? So will we say in the exam paper the quality has been compromised, or do we say quality of supervision has been compromised? Look at my comment. I'm commenting on a very particular thing, right? Because a lot of time the student says the quality of the audit has been compromised. Not the quality of the audit, the quality of the supervision. Now, have I done an extra effort in the green? Or let's write it in blue so you can see that more visibly. Have I done an extra effort in the blue? Is that what the examiner wants? Comment on the quality when it is a component of quality. So look at my para 1. In the para 1, I just discussed the issue. In the para 1, I just discussed the issue. And in the para 2, I commented on the quality. Now together, this is worth 1 mark. This is worth 1 mark. I'm not getting extra mark for writing the blue. I'm still getting 1 mark. It's not 8 to 10 lines, right? It's just 3 sentences. Count the sentences, right? It's just 3 sentences. And ideally for 1 mark, we generally write 2 to 3 sentences, right? How can you write less than 2 to 3 sentences for 1 mark? The examiner says you need to develop a point. Yesterday, day 2, in the day 2 we were discussing, the examiner was very critical. The examiner was saying you need to develop a point fully. And it's very interesting that the students are saying this is a too large answer when you write much larger answers than this, because you try to match the answer of the examiner, Muhammad Amir Iqbal, and you're just saying a 2 to 3 sentence answer is too large. When you are sitting in the exam hall, you write double triple answer than this for just one mark. This is just a 3-sentence answer. This is just a 3-sentence answer. How can a 3-sentence answer be longer? Don't count the lines, right? Count the sentences. How can you write less than this? The examiner wants your point to be fully developed. Is that not a fully developed point which discuss the issue and comment on the quality? Okay, can we move to the next problem? Can we move back to the case study? Is everyone getting the clarity? What does discuss the issue and comment on the quality means? Now, will every issue in the exam paper will every issue in the exam paper needs to be commented on the quality? Is that true? No. Only if it is a component of quality, then only you will comment on it, right? Is everyone clear? Okay, let's do another exercise. Let's do another exercise. Okay, back to the case study. Okay, can you just read this paragraph here from your review? Okay, just read till here, right? Orange. Just read this much. Then I'll give you time to read the other. Just read this much. Just read this much. And tell me you've read it after 1 minute. Okay, I hope all of you have read till the point I have made, I have highlighted in orange. If you have read, come back to the case study. I hope you can see the Word file, everyone. And on the Word file, I have copied the paragraph, right? The paragraph is in front of you. Let's read the paragraph, see is there any issue? Is there any issue or is there a quality control issue? From your review of the audit planning, you know that a new packing machine with a cost of 1.6 million was acquired by Stenley in March 2015 and is recognized in the draft financial statement at a carrying amount of 1.4 million. A new packing machine was acquired. How much was the cost when it was new? 1.6 million. Was it above the materiality of 1.5 million? Was it material? It was material, right? You know that a new packing machine with a cost of 1.5 million, 6 million was acquired by Stenley in March. So, do the auditor focus on new capital expenditures when he go for the audit? Agree or disagree? When do the auditor focus on new capital expenditures during the year when he goes for the audit? Yes. So, is it a new capital expenditure, 1.6 million? And do you all agree that 1.6 million cost is material? Don't look at the book value, right? The book value is after the depreciation. But 1.6 million dollar of a capital expenditure, is it material? So if you comment on materiality, will you get marks for commenting on the materiality in the AAA paper? Do you get extra marks for commenting on the materiality in the AAA paper? Yes. How many? 1 mark, one extra mark for commenting on the materiality wherever possible. So we will comment on the materiality of 1.6 million. Okay, and is recognized in the draft statement of financial position at a carrying amount of 1.4. Fine. Depreciation. And the packing machine is located at the premises of an Aberdeen company, a distribution company. So is it located at your premises, Stenley? Or is it located at the premises of another company? At another company, right? Which is used to pack and distribute a significant proportion of Stenley product. It's perfectly fine, right? You can put your asset at someone else's premises, but it is your ownership, right? Is it the ownership of Stenley Company? Should it be reflected as an asset in the Stenley Company's financial statement? Does this assets belongs to Stenley? Yes, but they have put the asset at the premises of Aberdeen. That's fine. So far, everything is going fine. The machine has not been physically verified by a member of audit team. Do you believe this is an issue? That the machine has not been physically verified by a member of audit team, right? Now, the machine has not been physically verified by a member of the audit team. What does that shows? Does that shows that the member of the audit team has a lack of knowledge, has a lack of competence? He does not know that the physical verification is the most important assertion of assets. Even you know, even I know, even a student who is studying the F8 paper also know that. So a member of the audit team didn't knew that a physical verification is the most important substantive procedure on a non-current asset. Do you believe a non-current asset existence is the most important substantive procedure? Do you all agree with that? So does it mean that the member of the audit team has a lack of knowledge, lack of competence? Does it brings a question mark on the competence of the member of the audit team? Does it brings a question mark on the competence of the member of the audit team? Or does it also bring the question mark on the supervision of the audit, that the person who was responsible for the supervision, how did he missed it? How did he missed it that the member of the audit team didn't verify the physical verification? So you can be critical of the absent supervision, or you can be critical of the competence of the team member. Now, I have already wrote supervision above, so I will not repeat the supervision point, but I will repeat the point of the competence of the team member. See how I write in answer. Okay, should I first discuss the issue? And should I first discuss the issue and then explain why it is an issue? Right? Should I issue and explain why it is an issue? And if the issue is a component, if the issue is a component of quality control, should I comment on? No, direction is perfectly fine, right? Direction is perfectly fine. At the stage of planning, this was identified. The new packing machine was identified at the planning stage, right? So that was wonderfully fine. Your planning was good, but your performance is bad. Your performance is really bad. So if the issue is a component of quality control, then comment on the quality. Is that right? Is that what we learned? So should we convert this paragraph first into the issue? Do you all agree this is an issue, irrespective quality or not? Okay, let's see how I write it. Will I, sorry, will I put the heading uh, machine not verified? Machine not physically verified, not physically verified, right? Under this, I explain. I tell the examiner for a non-current asset, for a non-current asset, the existence is the key assertion. Existence is the key assertion, and no audit work has been performed on the existence of the packing machine, on the existing of the packing machine, and no audit work has been performed on the existing of the packing machine. Thus, the audit team has no evidence. Thus, the audit team has no evidence whether the packing machine exists or not, or is it fictitious? Is it fictitious because you didn't verify it? Or is it fictitious? What if it's not existing? What if it's not at the Aberdeen premises? You didn't verify that. So do you believe this is an implication that the audit team has no evidence whether the packing machine exists or not? The packing machine is material to the financial statements, to the financial statements at its initial cost of $1.6 million, which exceeds the materiality threshold, which exceeds the materiality threshold set at the planning stage, set at the planning stage. Will I get an extra mark for commenting on the materiality? I'll get one extra mark for commenting on the materiality, right? I'll get one mark for commenting on the issue. I'll get one mark for commenting on the issue. Now, if you believe this is a quality control issue, you can further add a comment. If you don't want to add a comment, ignore it. It's not necessarily that you add a comment on the quality control issue for every point. Suppose you are writing 13 points, and in 13 points, you have commented on the quality for like 4 or 5 points. It's fine. But you cannot just forcefully comment on the quality. Now, for example, because I'm guiding you, and for the guidance sake, see if I convert this to quality control, I'll say it seems that the member of the audit team has no knowledge has no knowledge on the member of the audit team has no knowledge on the importance of existence to fixed assets, and it brings a question mark on the competence of the team member, because I already wrote supervision above, right? So I'm not repeating supervision. You can, and brings a question mark on the competence of the team member. Competence is a critical component of assignment of the audit team. Assignment of the audit team. Competence is a critical component of the assignment team and engagement quality. Thus, it seems that the quality the quality of the team assignment has been compromised. You have not assigned a good team. So the quality of the team assignment has been compromised. We just read that the assignment of a team is a separate component of quality. So it seems like that the assignment of the team was not good. You have assigned a person who does not even have a knowledge that you need to physically verify a fixed asset. So you commented on the quality again, and thus it seems that the quality of the team assignment has been compromised. Very particular comment, not on the quality of the audit, but on the quality of the assignment of the team. So because we are in a webinar, so I converted both the points to a comment on quality. Now suppose in the exam paper you're writing 4 points, and out of the 4 points you commented on the quality on 2. That's even fine. You cannot just forcefully comment on quality for every point. If it is a quality point, then comment on the quality. If it is not a quality point, then don't comment on the quality. But I hope you are finding some sense here. Are you understanding the nature of the question now? Are you understanding that if the examiner asks you to comment on the quality, what does that mean? So if you know the component of quality, which we studied at the beginning of the session today, if you know the component of the quality, if you know direction, if you know supervision, if you know review of the working paper, if you know assignment of the audit team, will you be capable of identifying whether this issue relates with a component of quality or not, everyone? And if you don't know the components of quality, how will you pick in the exam paper, should I comment on the quality or not? But if a student is writing a weak answer, for example, till the yellow, the student goes very well, right? Control C, and let's find a weak answer. Weak answer. Control V, same answer as of above. But after he puts it is material, full stop, just for the sake of formality, he says, thus the quality is compromised. He will be so happy I commented on the quality. And after every point, he says, thus the quality is compromised. And he's so happy coming out of the exam hall that I commented on the quality. Do you believe this standalone line coming here in red in a weak answer, is this standalone line giving any value to your answer? Does this standalone line giving any quality to your answer? And look at the way I explained above, that I connected that with a component of quality, and then I specifically mentioned which component of quality has been compromised. Read my paragraph above and read this simple line. This simple line is so easy, right? Anyone can write it. Then what's the value? If anyone can write this, then what's the value? What's the quality? So if you write 13 points, after every point you do the formality. Thus the quality is compromised. Thus the quality is compromised. Thus the quality is compromised. Useless. Now tell me, is the line in red useless? Or is this paragraph in black over here useless? Which paragraph is useless? The one in black or the one in red? So are you getting the way of commenting on the quality? Should you comment on the quality in a very proper manner? Okay, can we do one final exercise and comment on the quality? Okay, let's move on to the third example. Back to the case study. Okay, now in the case study, read this. Uh, from here from here to here. From here to here. Just read this quickly. 2 minutes. The orange part, right? Okay, have you all read it? Okay. Now, can you see the same paragraph in front of your screen on the Word file? I just copied that paragraph and pasted on my Word file for a proper analysis. Let's see what is the issue here and see is that issue a quality control issue or not, right? Let's first find the issue. The audit working paper conclude that we have obtained. Now see, whenever you are reading a case on issues, whatever the issues are, right? Whenever you're reading a case on issues, whether it is an ethical issues or whether it is a professional issue or whether it is a quality control issue, whenever you are reading a case on issues, carefully read the word, carefully read the word, open inverted commas, we conclude, or carefully read the word, the manager conclude, or carefully read the word, it was concluded. The conclusion might be wrong. The conclusion. Now, over here, the audit working paper conclude. Let's see whether this conclusion is right or wrong. Whenever in the exam paper you get this word conclude, read this word conclude very carefully to find whether the conclude is right or wrong. Now, let's see what is the conclusion here. The audit working paper conclude that we have obtained the purchase invoice and the order in relation to the machine and can conclude therefore can conclude that the asset is appropriately valued and that it exists. Now, you are saying that on the basis of the purchase invoice and on the basis of the order, you are concluding that the the asset is appropriately valued and exists. Look at your conclusion. Look at your conclusion. That on the basis of the purchase invoice and on the basis of the purchase order, you are concluding that the asset exists and the asset is properly valued. Now tell me honestly, how can you verify the existence of the asset from a purchase invoice? How can you verify the existence of the asset from a purchase order? What you should do for existence? Should you go to the Arbidine premises? Should you go to the Arbidine premises for existence? How can you verify the existence from purchase invoice and order. So is that a wrong conclusion or is that the right conclusion? Okay, properly valued. From a purchase invoice, will you get to know the cost? Or from the purchase invoice, will you get to know the valuation? What is valuation? The valuation is cost less depreciation. Cost less depreciation. So from a purchase invoice, will I get to know the cost or will I get to know the valuation? So do you all agree both the conclusions are wrong? So the audit working paper conclude that we have obtained a purchase invoice and an order, and that we can conclude that the asset is properly valued and that it exists. Now, whoever is preparing this working paper means he is incompetent. Whoever is preparing this working paper is not a competent person. That that he concluded that on a basis of a purchase invoice and on a basis of an order, the value exists. Does it demonstrate a lack of competence of the team member, whoever he is? So, do you believe competence of the team is a component of the audit quality? Competence of the team is a component of the assignment of the audit team. So, can you additionally comment on the quality here as well? But what is the issue? Let's put the heading here. Conclude. Conclude conclude in the working paper. Something like that. Conclude in the working paper as a heading, right? Or someone has not supervised you properly, right? Someone has not checked your working papers properly. Someone has not reviewed your working papers properly, right? This working paper is being reviewed by the engagement quality control reviewer. So the issue, conclude in the working paper. So do you all believe this is a wrong conclusion? I'm not writing the paragraph, just write the paragraph yourself. Do you believe there is a wrong conclusion? And this wrong conclusion means that no work, no work has been performed. No work has been performed on existence, and no work has been performed on the depreciation of the asset. I think the only work we performed was on the cost purchase invoice, right? That no work has been performed on existence and no work has been performed on the depreciation of the asset, right? So it's a wrong conclusion. So will you be able to write the issue and why it is an issue? The two bullets in front of your screen, will you convert that to a paragraph, everyone? Right? So depreciation is part of the valuation, right? Depreciation is part of the valuation, right? We just verified the cost only. We just verified the cost. So it's a wrong conclusion, right? Now, can it be commented on a quality? Commented on a quality that you can comment on the competence of the person, and competence of the person is the assignment of the team, that the person was wrongly assigned. Competence of the person, because he's giving a wrong conclusion. So a wrong conclusion is bringing a question mark on the competence of the person, and it's bringing a compromisation of the quality assignment of the team. Is everyone clear? Right? The depreciation is to be recalculated, right, Murtaza? There is no document for depreciation. You have a policy for depreciation, and you recalculate. The substantive procedure for depreciation is the recalculation of the depreciation. So will you be able to write this point as an issue and then comment on the quality? Everyone, right? Look at the last point. The last point says, in addition, look at this point in yellow. In addition, the managing director of Aberdeen Company has confirmed in writing that the machine is located at their premises and is in working order. No further work is needed in respect of this item. The managing director of Aberdeen has confirmed in writing that the machine is located at their premises. No further work is required. Can we just rely on management representation? Should we not go to the Aberdeen premises and check? Which is more appropriate evidence, the representation of the management or going to the Aberdeen premises and checking ourselves? Which is more appropriate, checking ourselves or relying on the managing director of Aberdeen? What if the managing director of Aberdeen is telling a lie? How would you verify, is he telling a lie or not? So Do you believe this is another issue? This is another issue. Uh, confirmed in writing. Confirmed in writing is another issue. Confirmed in writing is another issue. So if confirmed in writing is another issue, you will first write the issue. Confirmed in writing, representation. Representation alone is not an appropriate evidence. It's not an appropriate evidence. So representation alone is not an appropriate evidence. That is an issue here. Representation alone is not an appropriate evidence. Uh, the the representation alone is not appropriate evidence. Thus, no proper work has been performed on existence. Thus, no proper work has been performed on on existence of the asset, on existence of the asset. Right, representation alone is not an appropriate evidence. It's not an appropriate evidence, or alone is not a sufficient evidence. Thus, no proper work has been performed on existence of the asset. This is an issue, right? Now, this is confirmed in writing. This is wrong here. Even though writing is a very good evidence, but you cannot take writing as a substitute of your own substantive procedures, right? So I think this is the wrong conclusion, even that you just relied on the representation. So it's not like you link every point with comment on quality. See, out of the 4 points, we have commented on 3, which is very sufficient. So if the examiner is checking my answer, or if the examiner is checking your answer, Neeraj, and in my answer and in your answer, out of the 4 points, I've connected the 3 points, or I've connected the 2 points on quality, it's wonderfully fine. At least the examiner knows I know the meaning of the word comment on the quality, right? So is it like necessary that we forcefully connect every point with quality in the answer? What is the answer? Is it like we forcefully connect every point in the case study to quality forcefully? Or should we write a comment on quality where it is very natural? Should we write a comment on the quality where it is very natural? So if a question has 13 problems, where the question has 13 problems, might be that out of the 13 problems, I might be able to comment on the quality for 6 problems, which is fine, 7 problems, which is fine, even 5 problems, it is fine, right? So there is no hard and fast rule, Rizwan. How many points should we connect with quality? I'm just trying to justify that. Wherever you can naturally connect to quality. So in a 13 marks answer, if I have 0 comments on quality, is that right? In a 13 marks answer, if I have 0 comment on the quality, is that right? No. But in a 13 marks answer, if I have 3 to 4 comments on the quality, is that good enough? Is that fine enough? Yes. 3, 4, 5 is fine. So at least the examiner knows I know the meaning of the word comment on the quality. At least the examiner know I have come revised with the examiner article on quality. So is everyone clear? So when you're reading the case on comment on the quality, is everyone literally clear with the word comment on the quality? Now look at this question, which you have to solve on your own now. Look at this question. Comment on the quality of the audit performed. Now do you exactly know what does this mean? Do you know the components of the quality? Have I guided you on the components of quality? So if you know the components of quality, will you be able to pick them up from the case study? Have I demonstrated you the weak answer and a strong answer? So are you getting clarity on this question, everyone? Will you handle it better this time in December exams or when you're practicing at home? So has this second part of the day 3 help you with mitigation of your fear factor on a question which asks for comment on the quality? Honestly tell me, when you entered the day 3 today, the mindset you had on comment on the quality, and now when you are exiting from the day 3 today, the concept you had on comment on the quality, has that changed a lot? Has that changed a lot? Right? So are you getting a better picture of this question? Right? So please ensure you read examiner article, you go through the past papers, you try to spend time on comment on the quality, and please again do understand the limitation of this webinar. This is just a 3-hour webinar, free of cost, as a courtesy by ACCA Pakistan to guide you towards success in your exam papers. So everything is not possible within 3 hours. Everything is not possible that you guide each and every aspect. This topic quality control, or this topic ethical and professional issue, if you are conducting it in a normal class, takes like 7 to 8 classes, and each class worth like 2.5 to 3 hours. But in a context of a webinar, this needs to be wrapped up within 3 hours, just giving you the focus points. So at least you get the right direction. I hope you got the right direction and you can work on the right direction, right? So within the constraints, within the boundaries, I hope you got the right path and you will all start to walk on the right path. So day one gone, day two gone. Today, the day three is going to an end. And tomorrow we have a very important day, practice management. I've never focused on this topic in my previous webinars a lot. And this time I thought, because the examiner is focusing on practice management a lot since September 18 exams, I should also be focusing on practice management in my webinars as well. So tomorrow will be a very, very important day because we are focusing on a very, very special topic, which has become very popular since September 18 exams, which is practice management. Please ensure that you go through the learnings of the session today. You practice the questions which are coming on the slide in front of you. You read the articles which have been recommended to you to read, and you attempt the assignment questions so that you can self appraise yourself whether you're writing the good answer or a bad answer, right? And please ensure that from a BPP book or a Kaplan book, you read the chapter on ethics. I don't know the chapter number in the BPP and Kaplan book. Please ensure when you open the index page of the BPP and Kaplan, you will find a chapter on ethics. Wherever you find the word ethics, just go to that chapter and start reading it. Right? So we have practice management tomorrow, which is the agenda for day 4. So please do join the day 4 webinar live tomorrow, as we go down with a very special topic tomorrow, which I will be covering for the very first time in my webinars since long, and you will be getting an amazing idea of this topic and the recent papers and how this topic has come in the recent papers, and it has become such an important topic. Okay, I hope you had a productive webinar today. You learned a lot from the webinar today, and that is it for the session today. I will be sharing the Word file over the WhatsApp group, which has been created for this webinar in particular. And it's very good to see that you're all helping one another on the WhatsApp group, so that you can maximize the knowledge, right? So these WhatsApp group can be used as a study groups for your exams. The students can help each another in those WhatsApp group, and that's another special advantage of attending these webinars as well, right? So not just the webinar, even the WhatsApp group, which can really be helpful, right? So I wish you all a very best of luck for your exams in December, and we are coming back with day 4 tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. the Pakistan Standard Time. All of you have a nice day, stay blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow live at 8:30 p.m. Have a nice day, take care, goodbye, and Allah Hafiz. Yes, the recording will be available tomorrow, right, on the ACCA Pakistan channel on Vimeo. So just wait for that. Okay, I'll be looking forward to your feedback on the WhatsApp group, right? Please drop your feedback about the session today on the WhatsApp group. Thank you.